I think the first question we should ask ourselves is, why would we support the Rotary Foundation? I think that's a very important question if we're asking people for personal gifts. So I think it's the first question we should answer. Well, I think the Rotary Foundation is a unique organization. Think of it. It is supported by our members, by Rotarians like you, and it supports projects organized by Rotarians like you. So we have a charity organization worldwide that supports the very same people that donate to it. I think you may know many charities in your life, but there are very few charities that have such a unique way of doing its good work. And what I always find fascinating about the Rotary Foundation, it connects Rotarians from around the world to work together. Many of our projects are international. Many Rotary clubs worldwide work together to do good in their communities. And also here, I think we have a very unique setup because we are a membership organization that does good in the world by working together internationally. Let's become a bit more business-like now. Why support the Rotary Foundation? Well, we have a very wide range of humanitarian programs and areas of focus. We do just about everything. You may have heard today that the environment was added to our areas of focus. That means we do just about everything these days. We are transparent and efficient as an organization. We involve our members directly. We get sustainable results for our projects, and this is an important factor of the projects that we support with our money. We have local projects. Rotary clubs can apply for foundation support for local projects in their own communities, and they can engage in international projects. So we do both local and international. And we have both immediate impact with our programs, and we have also a long-term vision. So both immediate and long-term impact, all in the same organization. Let's get a bit more business-like. Let's talk about money. The Rotary Foundation is a very efficient charity. We have a very high efficiency rate, which means most of our money, 91%, goes to programs and projects, and only 9% is spent on general administration and fundraising. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the philanthropic sector, but generally it is said if you get to 70% programs and operations, you are an efficient organization. So we are playing in a very high league of quality when it comes to charity organizations. That also is why we always get the maximum rating by independent organizations that rate charities in America. So who gives to the Rotary Foundation? Also an interesting question to ask. So we have, of course, Rotary-related organizations. Most of our gifts in that sense come from Rotary clubs, you could say. Then we have a large group of people who support us personally. And then we also get support from companies, other charities, and even from governments. Now, a question I would like to ask you, where do you think most of our support comes from? And I can hear you, so if you could give me your opinion, where do you think is most of our support coming from? Say again? Clubs and districts, is that what most people think? Well, here's the percentages. Individual donors, they provide for 75%, so 3/4 of giving to the Rotary Foundation every year comes from individual donors. Most of these are, of course, club members, but if you look at club giving, only 20% actually comes from Rotary clubs who do fundraisers for the Rotary Foundation or support us in the name of the club. That means that individual gifts are extremely important to allow the foundation to do what it does to support Rotarian projects. And that brings me to major gifts. Major gifts within the Rotary context is what we call a gift of $10,000 or more coming from an individual or maybe another organization. So large gifts, as you could see. Here's some statistics from 1819, but it's very similar every year. In the Rotary year 1819, so in 1 year, we received approximately 1,500 major gifts. So individual gifts, where each gift is 10,000 or more. And here's a very fascinating statistics. These 1,500 gifts accounted for almost 1/3 of all the giving the Rotary Foundation received. And if you want to hear numbers, the Rotary Foundation receives worldwide, I would say, if you don't count the Bill and Melinda Gates contribution to polio, about 200 million in giving dollars. So 30% of that, what is that? 60 million comes from individual donors who make major gifts to the Rotary Foundation. You can even go more into detail. In that same Rotary year, we received approximately 120 gifts of $100,000 or more. So 120 people contributed a gift of 100,000 and more. And that was 15% of the full amount of giving we received. So you can see our constituents, some of them are very generous. They believe in our programs and they support us at a very high level. And this support is really a very important part of the giving we receive. But of course, every gift counts, small or large. I just wanted to put major gifts into context so you can understand also the importance to our organization. So what can we offer donors? Because donors support us because they believe in us and they believe we are a good organization. How can donors support us? What can they support? I think the most important fund that you must all know is the annual fund. I call it the engine of the Rotary Foundation. Why? Because it brings together giving from the whole world that expresses a certain solidarity between Rotary clubs, both locally and worldwide. The Every Rotarian Every Year E-Ray program, where we invite all our members to donate $100 every year to the annual fund, is maybe a program that you've heard about. And this is where the grant money comes from, mostly. When we support a grant in your district, whether it is a global grant or a district grant, and your club does a project with that money mostly comes from our annual fund system. So this is where we find the funding for the grant projects that are organized by Rotary clubs in your district and all the other districts worldwide. I'm sure you heard about Polio Plus, still a very important initiative within the Rotary Foundation, where we support the eradication of polio. As you know, we've only been able worldwide to eradicate one disease through vaccinations. That was smallpox in the 70s. And with polio, we are extremely close to being actively involved as the Rotary Foundation in the eradication of the second virus ever in the world. I think vaccinations, viruses are very topical today because of Corona, but polio is still a major project of the Rotary Foundation, and we actually still get this 2-to-1 match of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That means we try to raise 50 million a year for polio and receive 100 million from the Gates Foundation to help in our efforts to finally eradicate this disease. The endowment fund, not very well known in your part of the world. It's an investment fund where the giving is not spent. We receive outright donations and testamentary requests to this fund. So we never spend this money, but invest it in eternity and only spend the investment returns. So it's a long-term strategy to receive financial support for our programs, also for grants, from a fund where we only spend the investment returns. I'll talk a bit more about this fund later. So let's talk about grants a little bit. I think it's extremely important that we support our general funds and programs like the annual fund. And I think your district has seen some very good results in recent years due to the work of people like Chaim and other Rotary leaders. But let's talk about where this money goes to. Global grants, these big impactful projects that can take place in Israel, in your district, or elsewhere in the world, and where Rotary clubs work together internationally. There you see an immediate impact of your giving because the money is spent on a concrete project. Global grants, that's where the areas of focus come into play. Global grants is where we have, every time we do a global grant project or we support one, we ask clubs to do it in one of these 7 areas of focus. You know them, I'm sure. And as you can see, this is what I mean. We do almost everything. This is where we are active in the world. global grants are large projects, impactful. They ask for local needs assessment, so the money can only be spent once there is a real need. We ask for careful planning from the Rotary clubs involved. We ask for a sustainability plan. That means the project needs to have a long-term impact. When the money is spent, there needs to be a lasting effect. We check the financial reporting, financial stewardship. So Rotarians who donate to our grant programs know the money goes to where it's supposed to go, and we check on that. And here again, this international cooperation between Rotary clubs that is so important in the Rotary context. We are an international network, and through our humanitarian project, we make use of these networks. And of course, we are the foundation of Rotary International, so we support Rotarian projects. So active involvement of Rotarians is a requirement for global grant projects. And this is a quality label. Never underestimate the work that goes into a global grant project, because we ask for this level of quality, also out of respect to our donors, who must know that we support only good and quality projects. So most of the support for global grants comes from the annual fund, as I explained, and your district also makes use of these funds when it supports global grant projects. But of course, also individual donors can support these projects. You can make, as an individual, a large gift to a global grant project if you want to. So we have a system where we allow private individuals or companies to support global grants. This support will make the grant carry the name of the donor. The donor could even choose an area of focus. So if you are somebody, or you know somebody who has a particular interest, for example, in water projects or scholarships, the Rotary Foundation allows you to support these directly according to your preferences. Gifts like that are spent on global grants or scholarships, and the Rotary Foundation or your Rotary district will be responsible for finding the right project for a donor. How much money are we talking about? Well, there's two options. For $15,000 or more, you can ask the foundation to find the project for you according to your preferences. And starting at $30,000 or more, you can give your district that money, and you will have the guarantee as a donor that the money can only be spent on a global grant. So I know this is a very unknown type of giving in your district, but there are already many districts worldwide that do active fundraising for major gifts to support global grants from and in their own district. I'd like to talk about the endowment fund for a second. As you remember, this is the fund where we never spend the gifts, but only the investment returns are spent on projects and programs. Also here, we offer individual donors the possibility to make a major gift to this fund and to determine how this money is used in the future. We're talking about the investment returns. So a donor can, for example, create a named fund in the endowment fund and determine that only education projects should be supported with the investment returns of his or her personal fund. And then in all eternity, this money that is generated by this particular personal fund will only go to educational projects. So, well, why do people do this with us? Because think about it. You give to the annual fund, very important that we have a yearly amount of money available for programs and projects, but the impact is immediate. And many donors prefer it that way. They want to see an immediate impact. They want their money to be spent. Well, but an endowment fund gift, which will generate income for all eternity because it is an eternally invested fund, well, will also support these projects or these kind of projects, but forever, because the money is never spent, only investment returns are spent. As I mentioned, the donor can determine which area of focus or which program is supported with the endowment fund. And this is also a fund where we accept outright gifts that go into the fund immediately. Then you'll see an immediate impact because you will see investment returns being invested immediately. And as a donor, you receive reporting on that. And this is also the fund that we encourage people when they make testamentary bequests to the Rotary Foundation. This fund will be the destination of these bequests when they come in the future. A bequest is a future gift, but people, of course, make their testament during their lifetimes. So what I'm trying to show to you is that when we are talking about major gifts, the Rotary Foundation has extremely many options for donors. You can support areas of focus. You can support your own district. You can support our general funds, annual fund, polio. And as a donor, whatever preference you have, there's a good chance the Rotary Foundation can offer you something that you will like or that you will be interested in. Of course, we are grateful to our donors, and donor recognition is a very strong tradition with the Rotary Foundation. Donor recognition means that we show our appreciation to you by making you, for example, a member of certain societies or by giving you a certain recognition. I'm sure you heard about Paul Harris Fellows and other recognition, but here are, for example, recognitions that are maybe lesser known to you. Benefactor on the left for gifts or bequests to the endowment fund of 1,000 or more. Major donor, very important recognition program of the Rotary Foundation, where we make you a major donor. And that means that you will be informed by the Rotary Foundation every year on what is new and what is happening. You will be invited to major donor events where we also thank and inform our most important donors. People who make testamentary requests become members of the Bequest Society, also an important recognition program, and our top tier donors. These are few people, but they are also very important, as I showed you earlier with my statistics on major gifts. From outright giving of 250,000 or more, you are an Arch Clump Society member, which is the most important recognition program for donors of the Rotary Foundation. Maybe one other option I would like to mention before I finish my presentation is the Major Gift Pledge. Many people who want to make larger gifts like to plan ahead and maybe don't have the capacity to make a major gift immediately, or for tax reasons would like to spread a gift over several years. And that's why we offer the option of making a Major Gift Pledge to the Rotary Foundation, which means it's a major gift, so 10,000 or more has to be pledged, any fund, and we allow you to pay this gift in installments over 3 years. So usually 3 equal installments over 3 years. For larger gifts, more years are possible. We draft an agreement that is signed by the donor, drafted by the Rotary Foundation, and we give recognition immediately. So if you are making a $10,000 pledge to the Rotary Foundation, for example, to the annual fund to support your district, we will give you recognition as a major donor immediately in the first year when the first part of the pledge is donated. So this was a lot of information. I don't expect all of you to say now I want to make a major gift, but thank you very much for listening to me, maybe considering making a major gift to support a foundation, maybe even your district, or for making this option known to Rotarians in your clubs and in your districts, because the Rotary Foundation is really an attractive partner for donors. And this is not known to many Rotarians because they don't know our international organization. They mostly know only their club. But I'm sure you know a number of generous philanthropists in your club who have the capacity and the interest to make major gifts, but who don't know the Rotary Foundation and all the attractive options we offer to donors. So we are an attractive partner for donors. So thank you for listening to me and for considering a major gift or for considering spreading this news in your clubs. Thank you.
Peter, thank you very much. It was very interesting. I don't know if you can see it. Now you can see it. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate it. And you know that we appreciate our lecturers by planting a tree on the Paul Harris Fellow Peace Forest in the north of Israel. And I will personally bring the certificate for you if I be in Prague, if not in Zurich. My dream.
I thank you very much for that. I think it's a very nice gesture and I appreciate it. And of course, the pleasure of speaking to you and seeing you, Chaim, is also part of the fun for me because this is Rotary and I've met you several times and I appreciate your company and I really hope we can meet in person again soon. And to the other participants, Giri, I didn't say hi to you in person, but of course, you are also a person I know very well.
Nobody will understand.
And of course, my aim is still to travel to Israel, to your wonderful district. I've met you at international events so often. So as soon as travel permits this, not a familiar face, as soon as travel permits this, I would really like to visit your district. So again, my interest to visit is there. The possibility, because of COVID, of course, makes it difficult. But when it is possible, I will come to your district. There's no escape for you.
Thank you.